The morning sky over Seoul glowed with colors that Earth had never seen before. Purple and green lights danced between the clouds created by the massive alien ships hovering above the city. Daehan stood at his kitchen window, watching the lights while he made breakfast. His coffee had gone cold in his hand. He had been staring at the sky for 10 minutes without moving. "Papa, are the star people here yet?" Ji-hoon ran into the kitchen, his small feet making loud sounds on the floor. The 7-year-old boy wore his favorite blue shirt with a rocket on it. His hair stuck up in 3 different directions because he had just woken up. "They arrived last night," Daehan said. He turned away from the window and smiled at his son. "They're setting up their testing center in the big park downtown. I have to go there today for work." Ji-hoon's eyes grew wide. "Can I come, please? I want to see the aliens." "Absolutely not," said Nari as she walked into the kitchen. Ji-hoon's older sister was 14 and took her role as the responsible one very seriously. "Papa has important work to do." "You'll just get in the way." "I won't get in the way. I'll be very quiet." Ji-hoon bounced up and down. "I promise I'll just look and not touch anything." Daehan laughed. His son had never kept that promise in his entire life. Ji-hoon touched everything he saw. But Daehan felt tired of saying no to his children. The whole world was changing. Aliens were real. They had been visiting Earth for almost 100 years now, but this was different. This time they came to judge humanity. "All right," Daehan said. "You can come, but you have to stay close to me." Nari rolled her eyes. This is a terrible idea. She was probably right, but Daehan did not care. He wanted his children to see this moment in history. The Galactic Cognitive Council only visited Earth once every 10 years. They came to test human intelligence to see if humanity was ready to become a full member of the Galactic Union. So far, humans had failed every test. 3 hours later, Daehan and Ji-hoon stood in front of a massive transparent dome that had not existed yesterday. The aliens had built it overnight in the center of Uedo Park. The dome was as tall as a skyscraper and seemed to be made of glass, except the glass moved like water. Shapes and colors flowed across its surface. "Whoa," Ji-hoon whispered. He held his father's hand tightly. Security officers checked Daehan's identification at the entrance. One officer, a man named Young-soo, frowned when he saw Ji-hoon. "Sir, children are not allowed in the testing facility," Young-soo said. "I have clearance to bring my family." Daehan showed another card. "I'm the head linguistics professor for the delegation. They might need me at any moment." Young-soo looked unhappy but let them through. "Keep the boy away from the equipment. The aliens are very particular about their things." Inside the dome, Ji-hoon forgot how to close his mouth. Everywhere he looked, he saw something impossible. Platforms floated in the air with no support. Screens showed images and colors that hurt to look at, and aliens walked everywhere. Ji-hoon had seen aliens on television before, but television did not prepare him for the real thing. One alien looked like it was made of living crystal. Light shone through its body in rainbow patterns. Another alien had 6 legs and eyes that covered its entire head. A third alien seemed to be made of smoke that somehow held the shape of a person. "Papa, why does that one look like it's on fire?" Ji-hoon pointed at an alien covered in dancing flames. "It comes from a very hot planet," Daehan said. "Don't point. It's rude." The crystal alien noticed them and floated over. It did not walk. It simply moved through the air as if swimming. "Professor Daehan," the alien said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Welcome. And you brought a juvenile human. How quaint." "Ambassador Velthar," Daehan bowed his head respectfully. "This is my son, Ji-hoon. I hope you don't mind. He was very eager to see your work." "Not at all," Velthar said. The alien bent down to look at Ji-hoon more closely. "Hello, small human. Do you know why we are here?" Ji-hoon thought about this seriously. "You're testing us to see if we're smart enough." "Correct." Velthar made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are a clever little creature. Would you like to see what we use for testing?" Before Daehan could say no, Velthar was already floating away. Ji-hoon pulled on his father's hand, wanting to follow. Daehan sighed and let his son lead him deeper into the dome. They entered a large circular room filled with equipment. Humans in white coats stood around tables covered with strange devices. In the center of the room, sitting on a pedestal, was a cube. But calling it a cube did not feel right. The object had 6 sides like a cube, but the sides moved. Patterns flowed across each surface, and sometimes Ji-hoon thought he could see inside it, into spaces that should not exist. "This," Velthar said with obvious pride, is the Terminus Cube? It is the most difficult puzzle in the known galaxy. Only 3 species have ever solved it. A mantis-like alien standing nearby made a clicking sound, and those species took months or years to find the solution. Humans will never solve it. Their brains are too simple. Now, Quinn, Velthar said, we must give them a fair chance. That is why we are here. It's pretty, Jihoon said. He stepped closer to the pedestal. What does it do? It tests cognitive ability in 11 dimensions, Velthar explained, though Jihoon did not understand most of those words. The puzzle changes based on who holds it. It becomes more or less difficult to match the solver's intelligence. Can I try? Jihoon asked. Every alien in the room turned to look at him. Several made sounds that Dahan thought might be laughter. Young human, Quinn clicked. Adult members of your species will spend weeks attempting this puzzle. You are merely a child, so I can't try. Jihoon looked disappointed. Dahan felt embarrassed. His son was bothering the aliens with silly requests, but Velthar surprised him. Why not? The crystal alien said. It will be educational for the child to see true complexity. Go ahead, small one. Pick it up. Jihoon did not need to be told twice. He reached for the cube with both hands. The moment his fingers touched its surface, the cube came alive. Light exploded from it in every direction. The patterns on its surfaces began moving faster, creating shapes that seemed to exist in places beyond the room. All the aliens leaned forward to watch. This was always an interesting moment when the cube first met a new mind. They expected the child to be overwhelmed, to drop it in confusion. That was what happened with every species the first time, but Jihoon did not drop the cube. His eyes followed the patterns carefully. His small fingers moved across the surfaces, touching different sections in what seemed like random order. Except it was not random. Each touch changed the patterns in specific ways. Dahan checked his watch without thinking. He wanted to know how long his son would try before giving up. The aliens watched with amusement. Then their amusement began to fade. The child was still going. His movements became faster and more confident. Interesting, Velthar said quietly. He has not dropped it. 11 seconds after Jihoon picked up the cube, every surface aligned. The patterns stopped moving and locked into a perfect geometric harmony. A pure, clear tone rang through the room like a bell made of starlight. The cube projected a hologram into the air above it. Symbols appeared that no human could read, but every alien understood them perfectly. Solved. Optimal pathway achieved. Time, 11.3 seconds. Silence filled the dome. Not a single being moved or made a sound. Jihoon looked up at the frozen aliens around him. He held out the cube toward Velthar. That was fun, he said with a big smile. Is there a harder one? This one was easy. The cube slipped from his hands and clattered on the floor. No one moved to catch it. They were all too busy staring at the small human boy who had just done something impossible. The silence lasted for exactly 7 seconds. Then every alien in the room began talking at once. Their voices created a noise that sounded like 100 different musical instruments all playing different songs. Jihoon covered his ears and stepped closer to his father. Dahan stood frozen in shock. He had watched his son pick up the cube. He had seen Jihoon's small fingers move across its surfaces, and he had heard the impossible sound when the puzzle solved itself. Except it had not solved itself. His 7-year-old son had solved a puzzle that was supposed to be impossible. This cannot be correct. Quinn clicked his mandibles together rapidly. The mantis alien rushed to the pedestal where the cube had fallen. The device must be malfunctioning. There is no other explanation. Velthar floated down to pick up the cube. The crystal alien held it carefully, turning it over and over in his 4 hands. I have carried this cube for 300 years. It has never malfunctioned before. Then the child cheated somehow, another alien said. This one looked like a small gray cloud with too many eyes. Humans are known for their deceptive behavior. I didn't cheat, Jihoon said loudly. He did not like being called a cheater. I just moved the parts until they matched. Silence, child, Quinn snapped. Adults are speaking. That was the wrong thing to say. Dahan found his voice and his courage at the same moment. Do not speak to my son that way. He answered your challenge. If you cannot accept the results, that is your problem, not his. More aliens gathered around them. Word had spread quickly through the dome. Scientists and observers from dozens of species crowded into the room.
All wanting to see the human child who had supposedly
solved the Terminus cube. A human woman pushed through the crowd. Dr. Hana worked as the cognitive science liaison between Earth and the Galactic Council. She looked worried and embarrassed. Ambassador Velthar, I apologize for this disruption. I'm sure there's been some kind of mistake. Perhaps, Velthar said slowly. The alien's crystalline body flickered with colors that Dehan had not seen before. But we can easily test this. Boy, what is your name? Jihoon, the child answered. He was not scared anymore, just confused about why everyone was so upset. Jihoon, Velthar repeated. Would you be willing to solve the cube again? So we can all watch carefully? Okay, Jihoon shrugged. Can I sit down this time? My arms got tired holding it up. Someone brought a chair. They placed it in front of the pedestal. Jihoon climbed onto the chair, his feet dangling above the ground. Every alien in the room moved closer, watching his every movement. Velthar placed the cube in front of Jihoon. The cube has reset itself. It is now a completely different puzzle than before. Please show us how you solve it. Jihoon reached for the cube again. The moment he touched it, the patterns began their wild dance. But this time everyone was watching closely. Dr. Hana held up a tablet computer recording everything. Several aliens activated their own recording devices. Quinn moved so close that his mantis face was only inches from Jihoon's hands. Tell us what you are thinking, Velthar said gently. Explain your process, Jihoon made a face. That's hard. I don't really think about it. I just look at the patterns and see where they want to go. Where they want to go? Quinn clicked. The patterns do not want anything. They are mathematical constructs. But they do want to go somewhere, Jihoon insisted. His fingers danced across the cube's surface. See, this blue part wants to connect with that gold part. And when they connect, it makes a space for the red part to move through. Then the red part can reach the purple part, and the purple part opens up the middle. None of the aliens understood what he was saying. They saw only random touches, meaningless movements. But the cube responded to every touch. Its patterns shifted and flowed, becoming more organized with each passing second. He is manipulating 11-dimensional space. One alien whispered, but he describes it like a children's game. Because to him it is a game, Velthar said quietly. There was wonder in the crystal alien's voice. Look at his face. He is enjoying this, it was true. Jihoon smiled as he played with the cube. His eyes sparkled with happiness. While aliens saw an impossible mathematical challenge, the child saw a fun puzzle. He was not stressed or worried. He was having a good time. 9 seconds after touching the cube the second time, the tone rang out again. The surfaces aligned. The hologram appeared with the same message. Solved. Optimal pathway achieved. Time. 9.1 seconds. He's getting faster, Dr. Hana said in a weak voice. Jihoon hopped off the chair. That one was a little different. The middle part had an extra twist. Can I try another one? We only have one terminus cube, Velthar said. The alien sounded dazed. We must contact the council immediately. This changes everything. But Quinn was not ready to give up. One child means nothing. Perhaps this juvenile has a unique mutation. We need to test other humans, especially adults with fully developed brains. I can get my sister, Jihoon offered. Nari is really smart. She's in high school. Dayan finally remembered how to move. He pulled out his phone and called his daughter. Nari, I need you to come to the testing center. Right now. Yes, I know you said this was a bad idea. Just come. Trust me. While they waited for Nari to arrive, news of what happened spread beyond the dome. A reporter named Taman had been covering the Cognitive Council's visit for a major news network. He had cameras inside the facility. Within minutes, video of Jihoon solving the cube was playing on every screen in Seoul. Then across Korea. Then across the entire planet. The news spread to other worlds as well. Aliens watching Earth's broadcasts could not believe what they were seeing. A human child, barely old enough to attend school, had solved the terminus cube twice, in seconds. While smiling, emergency messages flew through space at faster than light speeds. The leaders of every major galactic civilization received the news. Most of them thought it was a joke or a mistake. But they all sent the same order to their representatives on Earth. Investigate immediately. Nari arrived at the dome 30 minutes later. She was annoyed and confused. Papa, what's going on? Your message sounded strange. Dahan just pointed at the crowd of aliens surrounding Jihoon. His daughter pushed through the crowd and saw her little brother sitting on a chair, surrounded by dozens of alien scientists. He was drinking juice that someone had given him. Did Jihoon do something bad? Nari asked nervously. No, Velthar said. The crystal alien turned to face her. Your brother did something we thought was impossible. We need to test if other young humans can do the same thing. Would you be willing to try? Nari looked at the cube sitting on the pedestal. She had seen the news reports about it. Everyone on Earth knew about the Terminus Cube. It was supposed to be unsolvable by humans for at least another 1,000 years. Jihoon solved it? She asked. Twice, her brother said proudly. It's really fun, Nari. You should try. Nari had spent her whole life being the smart, responsible older sister. She studied hard and got good grades. She followed all the rules. But she had also spent her whole life being protective of Jihoon. If strange aliens wanted to test her baby brother, they could test her first. Fine, she said. I'll try. But if you're trying to make fun of humans, you should know that won't work on me. We are not making fun, Velthar promised. We are simply trying to understand. Nari sat in the chair and picked up the cube. It was heavier than she expected and warm to the touch. The patterns started moving, and for a moment she felt dizzy. There were too many colors, too many shapes, too many dimensions to track at once. Then something clicked in her mind. She stopped trying to understand the whole puzzle. Instead, she looked at one small part. Then another part. She saw how they connected. It was like solving a crossword puzzle or playing a video game. Each piece affected the others. Her hands moved without conscious thought. Touch here. Slide there. Rotate this. Connect that. The aliens held their breath. Dr. Hana's tablet recorded everything. Quinn's compound eyes watched every micro-movement. 14 seconds later, the tone rang through the room for the third time. Nari set the cube down gently. That was actually pretty interesting. I can see why Jihoon liked it. Velthar's crystalline body stopped glowing entirely. It was the first time in his long life that he had been completely without words. Quinn made a sound like breaking glass. This is impossible. Statistically impossible. 2 humans in a row cannot want me to try? Asked a voice from the crowd. Everyone turned to see a young Korean boy who had followed his parents into the dome. He looked about 9 years old. His name was Minho, and he solved the cube in 8 seconds. The dome erupted in chaos. 1 week after Jihoon solved the impossible puzzle, Seoul looked like the center of the universe. Alien ships filled the sky in numbers that Earth had never seen before. Scientists from hundreds of worlds arrived every hour, all demanding to understand what made human brains so different. The Galactic Council had brought 47 more Terminus cubes to Earth. They set up testing stations in 50 cities around the world. And children came running to try them. Jihoon sat in his living room watching television with his sister. The news showed a girl named Sujin, who was only 5 years old. She solved the cube while humming a song taking 14 seconds. When the reporter asked how she did it, Sujin said it reminded her of her toy blocks at home. You made us famous, Nari said to her brother. She did not sound happy about it. Ever since that day at the dome, journalists had been camping outside their apartment. 3 times she had to push cameras out of her face just to get to school. I just played with a toy, Jihoon said. He did not understand why adults were so upset. It's not like I did anything special, but it was special. Everywhere on Earth, human children were treating the galaxy's greatest puzzle like a simple game. The average solving time for humans between ages 5 and 12 was 15 seconds. Teenagers took a bit longer, around 20 seconds. Adults took even more time, usually 30 to 45 seconds, because they tried to think too hard about it. But every human could solve it. Every single one. Professor Hyunwoo, a mathematician from Seoul National University, tried to explain it to the aliens. He stood in a conference room filled with galactic scientists drawing diagrams on a large screen. Human brains evolved differently than yours, Hyunwoo said. We come from a world that forced us to solve 3-dimensional puzzles constantly. How to throw a spear to hit a moving target, how to climb a tree, how to stack stones into a shelter. Our ancestors who could visualize space better survived better. But the Terminus cube operates in 11 dimensions, Quinn protested. The mantis alien refused to accept what was happening. Not 3. True, Hyunwoo agreed. But human children don't see 11 dimensions. They see patterns. They see relationships, and most importantly, they see it as play. When you make something fun, human brains work in ways we don't fully understand ourselves. Velthar had been very quiet since that first day. The crystal alien spent most of his time reviewing old records, searching through thousands of years of galactic history. Finally, he called an emergency meeting of the Cognitive Council. The meeting took place in a massive chamber that floated above the Pacific Ocean. Leaders from 20 major civilizations attended, either in person or through holographic projection. Dehan was there too, representing Earth's interests. Members of the council, Velthar began. We must face an uncomfortable truth. Humanity is not primitive. They never were. We simply measured them with the wrong tests. A projection of an alien that looked like a tree made of silver spoke up. Ambassador, you go too far. Humans have been in space for barely 200 years. We have been exploring the stars for millions. And in those millions of years, Velthar said calmly, how many species have solved the Terminus Cube in under a minute? Silence answered him. Before last week, the answer was 0, Velthar continued. The 3 species who solved it at all took months or years. But human children solve it in seconds while laughing. This is not a measurement error. This is a fundamental difference in cognitive approach. Dehan raised his hand. May I speak? Please, Velthar gestured with one of his forearms. I've been thinking about this all week, Dehan said. Your species, all of them, evolved to be logical. You developed science and technology through careful reasoning. But humans? We evolved to be creative. We're chaos thinkers. We see patterns that don't exist yet. We connect things that shouldn't connect. It makes us messy and unpredictable, but it also makes us really good at solving puzzles that require thinking outside normal logic. Quinn clicked his mandibles angrily. This is dangerous. If humans can solve our greatest challenges without understanding them, what else can they do? They might break technologies they don't comprehend. They might disrupt systems that have worked for millennia. Or, Velthar said softly, they might help us solve problems we've been stuck on for those same millennia. The crystal alien brought up a holographic display. It showed a complex geometric shape spinning slowly in the air. This is the absolute enigma. It is a puzzle that has existed for 50,000 years. Every civilization in the galaxy has tried to solve it. No one has ever succeeded. Not even close. The best attempt took 30 years and only completed 12% of the solution. Why are you showing us this? Asked the silver tree alien. Because I gave it to a human yesterday, Velthar said. Every alien in the chamber reacted at once. Some gasped. Others made sounds of anger or fear. Quinn stood up so fast his chair fell over. You did what? Quinn shouted. That puzzle is sacred. It is kept in the Grand Archive under the protection of... I know what I did, Velthar interrupted. His body glowed bright red, a sign of anger in his species. I gave it to Jehun's sister, the girl named Nari. More shocked silence. She solved it in 3 minutes, Velthar said. Then she suggested combining it with another puzzle to make it more interesting. The holographic display changed. It showed a video recording. Nari sat at a table, holding something that looked like the absolute enigma but more complex. Her face was serious and focused. Her hands moved with confidence. What you're seeing is a hybrid puzzle, Velthar explained. Nari combined the absolute enigma with a spatial folding problem from the Praetorian archives. She said the original puzzle was too simple by itself. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the 14-year-old human girl solved a problem that had stumped their greatest minds for millennia. She did it while explaining her process out loud. See, this part creates a loop, Nari said in the recording. But the loop isn't meant to be broken. It's meant to be inverted, like turning a sock inside out. Once you invert it, you can access the locked dimensions. The video ended with Nari completing the puzzle. She looked up at the camera and smiled. That was fun. Do you have any more? No one spoke for a long time. Finally, the silver tree alien said, What do you propose we do, Ambassador Velthar? I propose we stop testing humanity, Velthar said, and start learning from them. Give them our unsolved problems, our stuck projects, our impossible challenges. Let's see what happens when human chaos meets galactic logic. This is madness, Quinn protested. We're the advanced civilizations. We have millions of years of knowledge and experience. Yes, Velthar agreed. And in all those millions of years, we became stuck in our ways. We approach every problem with the same logical methods. We've stopped seeing new possibilities. But humans? They've only been thinking about these things for a few hundred years. Everything is new to them. Everything is possible. Dahan felt strange hearing an alien defend humanity so strongly. A week ago, these same beings had looked at humans like amusing pets. Now they were arguing about whether humans might be more capable than anyone had imagined. "There's something else," Velthar said. He pulled up another display. This one showed a complex mathematical equation that covered the entire holographic screen. "This is the hyperspace drive equation. It's been incomplete for 800 years. The missing variable has prevented us from achieving faster-than-light travel beyond our current limits." "Everyone knows about the drive equation," Quinn said impatiently. "What does this have to do with—" "A human girl named Mirai solved it," Velthar interrupted. "She's 9 years old. She solved it while playing with building blocks." The chamber erupted in shouting. Aliens argued in dozens of languages. Some demanded to see proof. Others insisted it was a trick. A few simply could not process what they were hearing. Velthar let them shout. He waited until they exhausted themselves. Then, in the silence that followed, he said something that changed everything. "The galaxy has been waiting for this moment for millions of years. We just didn't know what we were waiting for." The prophecies spoke of chaos thinkers who would break the old patterns. We thought it was mythology. But it's not. It's humanity. He turned to face Dahan directly. "Your species isn't primitive. You're revolutionary, and the galaxy needs revolution." Quinn made one last protest.
"Even if this is all true, humanity is dangerous."
"They're unpredictable. They might destroy as easily as they create." "Yes," Velthar said simply. "They might. But staying stuck is also destruction, just slower. I vote we accelerate humanity's integration into galactic society immediately. Give them access to our archives, our laboratories, our greatest challenges, and let's see what happens when chaos meets order." The vote took 3 hours. In the end, humanity won. Barely, but they won. Dahan called home to tell his children the news. Nari answered the phone. "Papa, what happened?" "Pack your bags," Dahan said, his voice shaking with emotion. "You and Jehun are going to the Galactic Science Institute. They want to learn from you." "What about school?" Nari asked. Dahan laughed. It was a slightly hysterical sound. "I think you just graduated to something much bigger than school." 6 months had passed since Jehun solved the puzzle that changed everything. Earth looked different now. Alien structures grew between human buildings, creating a strange mix of technologies. Ships from 100 worlds came and went every day, bringing teachers, scientists, and students who wanted to learn the human way of thinking. Dahan walked through the new Human-Alien Cognitive Institute in Geneva. The building existed in 6 dimensions at once, which made hallways connect in ways that hurt to think about. He had gotten lost 3 times just trying to find his office this morning. His office door had his new title printed in 12 languages, Director of Interspecies Cognitive Research. He still could not believe it was real. Inside, he found Jehun sitting at a desk that was too big for him. The 8-year-old boy had papers spread everywhere. Strange symbols covered the papers, a mix of human mathematics and alien languages. "What are you working on?" Dahan asked. "Helping some alien kids with their homework," Jehun said without looking up. "They're learning about spatial puzzles, but they're thinking too hard. I'm trying to show them how to just feel the answer." "Just feel the answer," Dahan repeated. "I'm not sure their teachers will like that explanation." "Then the teachers need to learn too," Jehun said with the absolute confidence of an 8-year-old. He was not wrong. The entire galactic education system was changing because of humans. For millions of years, alien species had taught through logic and memorization. But humans learned through play, through trial and error, through creative experimentation. And it turned out the human way worked better for many things. A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Kyungmi entered carrying a tablet. She was one of the lead neuroscientists studying human cognition. She looked excited and nervous at the same time. "Director, I think I've figured it out," she said. "I know why human children are so good at these puzzles." "Tell me," Dahan said, gesturing for her to sit. Kyungmi pulled up brain scans on her tablet. "Look at this. This is a human child's brain while solving a terminus cube. See all this activity? It's not just in the logic centers. It's everywhere. The creative centers, the emotional centers, the motor control areas, even the parts we use for social interaction." She swiped to another image. "Now look at an adult alien brain solving the same puzzle. The activity is focused in just one area. They're using pure logic. It's efficient, but it's also limited. So we're using more of our brain." Daehan asked. Not more, Kyungmi corrected. Different. Humans evolved doing complex three-dimensional tasks that required full brain integration, throwing spears at moving targets while running, climbing trees while avoiding predators, building shelters that wouldn't collapse. Every one of those tasks required logic, creativity, spatial awareness, and physical coordination all at once. And aliens didn't evolve that way? Jihoon asked. He was listening carefully even though he was supposed to be doing homework. Most didn't, Kyungmi said. Most advanced species evolved in more stable environments. They developed intelligence through careful observation and logical reasoning. They're smarter than us in many ways, but they think in lines. We think in webs. That's why the children are better than adults, Daehan said slowly, understanding. Adult humans have learned to think more logically, more like aliens. But children still think naturally. Exactly, Kyungmi smiled. And that's why play is so important. When humans play, we integrate all our cognitive abilities. We don't separate logic from creativity. That makes us really good at problems that require looking at things from multiple angles at once. Daehan thought about this. It explained so much. No wonder aliens had thought humans were primitive. They were measuring intelligence by how well species could think in straight lines. But humans had never been straight-line thinkers. They were chaos thinkers, connecting everything to everything else. His phone rang. It was Ambassador Soo-hyun calling from the Galactic Union headquarters. Daehan, we have a situation. Can you come to the assembly chamber? What kind of situation? The kind where a human teenager just solved a 40-year-old military problem, and some species are not happy about it. Daehan sighed. This was happening a lot lately. He told Jihoon to behave himself, grabbed his coat, and headed for the teleporter. The Galactic Assembly Chamber was in orbit around Earth. Daehan had been there several times now, but it still amazed him. The room was a perfect sphere where gravity worked in every direction. Representatives from different species stood on different surfaces, all looking toward the center where speakers floated. Ambassador Soo-hyun met him at the entrance. She had been a video game designer before becoming Earth's diplomatic representative. The aliens had thought that made her unqualified. They had changed their minds quickly when she solved 3 impossible strategic problems in her first week. What happened? Daehan asked. Come see. Soo-hyun led him to an observation window. Below, a war simulation was playing out. It was not a real war, just a training scenario that military strategists used to test tactics. The scenario was famous across the galaxy because no one had ever found a good solution to it. 2 equally matched forces meeting in an asteroid field with limited resources and no way to retreat. That scenario has been running for 40 years, Soo-hyun said. Every major military academy studies it. The best outcome anyone ever achieved was a mutual destruction, where both sides lost 90% of their forces. What does this have to do with a human teenager? Daehan asked. Soo-hyun pointed at the screen. That's Tae-young down there. He's 15. He was visiting the military academy with his school. They let him try the simulation as a demonstration. On the screen, the battle was ending, but it was not ending in destruction. One fleet was surrendering peacefully while the other had taken almost no casualties. He won? Daehan said in shock. Not just won. He ended it without anyone dying. Watch. The simulation replayed from the beginning. 2 fleets approached each other in the asteroid field. But instead of fighting, one fleet started moving asteroids. Not to use as weapons. To build something. Is that... Daehan squinted at the screen. A bridge, Soo-hyun confirmed. Tae-young built a bridge between the 2 fleets using the asteroids. Then he used the communication system to invite the other commander to meet in person. No one ever thought to do that because the scenario was labeled as a military exercise. Everyone assumed fighting was required. But the goal was just to achieve victory, Daehan said slowly. Right. And Tae-young decided the best victory was one where both sides survived and became allies. The simulation's computer had to invent a new category just to score his solution. In the assembly chamber, alien military leaders were arguing loudly. Some praised Tae-young's creative thinking. Others insisted he had cheated by not following proper military doctrine. A few called it dangerous and irresponsible. Velthar floated at the center of the debate. The crystal alien had become humanity's strongest advocate over the past months. This is exactly what we need, Velthar said firmly. We have been fighting the same wars using the same tactics for millennia. This human child showed us a completely different possibility. But war requires discipline, shouted a reptilian general. You cannot allow chaos thinking in military operations. Why not? Asked a small voice. Everyone turned. Taeyong had entered the chamber. He looked nervous but determined. His teacher tried to pull him back, but he stepped forward anyway. Why not allow creative thinking in war? Taeyong repeated. Isn't avoiding war better than winning it? Child, you do not understand the complexities of galactic conflict, the reptilian general said dismissively. Maybe, Taeyong admitted. But I understand that the simulation gave me a goal. It said achieve victory. It didn't say how. Everyone else saw a battle. I saw two groups of people who didn't need to be enemies. Velthar made a sound like wind chimes. It was the noise his species made when deeply moved. You see, this is the human gift. They look at our oldest problems and ask, why are we doing it this way? And when we say because we've always done it this way, they show us something new. But not everyone was convinced. An ancient being who looked like living stone spoke up. I am Archmagister Thelquin of the Praetorian Hierarchy. My species has existed for 30 million years. In all that time, we have learned one truth: chaos destroys, order creates. Humans are chaos. They will destroy what we have built. The chamber went silent. The Praetorian Hierarchy was one of the oldest and most respected civilizations in the galaxy. When Thelquin spoke, people listened. Dahan felt his heart sink. This was it, the moment when the galaxy rejected humanity despite everything they had achieved. But Thelquin was not finished speaking. However, the stone being continued. In 30 million years, we have also learned another truth. Systems that never change eventually become brittle. They crack and shatter. Perhaps we have become too orderly. Perhaps we need chaos to remain flexible. He turned to face the assembly. There is a prophecy in our archives, very old. Older than most civilizations in this room. It speaks of the chaos thinkers who will break the old patterns and forge new ones. We thought it was mythology. But I have spent the past weeks reviewing what humans have accomplished. I believe the prophecy was about them. Murmurs spread through the chamber. I proposed something radical. 1 year had passed since the day Jihoon asked if there was a harder puzzle. The world had changed in ways that seemed impossible, even in a galaxy full of impossible things. The Human Alien Cognitive Institute now had branches on 30 worlds. Human children taught classes alongside alien professors who had studied for thousands of years. Alien students learned to play, something most had never done before. Human students learned advanced mathematics and science that would have taken centuries to discover on their own. But the real magic happened when they worked together. Jihoon stood in front of a massive holographic display, explaining his latest project to a group of visitors. He was 8 years old now, and famous across the galaxy, but he still just saw himself as a kid who liked puzzles. This is level 2, he said, pointing at the complex structure floating in the hologram. It's different from the Terminus Cube because one person can't solve it alone. You need at least 3 people, and they all have to think differently. The visitors were dignitaries from 12 different worlds, here to see how human-alien cooperation actually worked. They watched as the hologram showed a puzzle that existed in 17 dimensions at once. It looked like an impossible tangle of shapes and colors, constantly shifting. How does it work? Asked one of the visitors, a floating jellyfish creature from a water world. Well, Jihoon said, thinking about how to explain it simply. Some parts need logic, some parts need creativity, some parts need spatial awareness, and some parts need emotional intelligence. No single species is good at all those things, but when different species work together, they can solve anything. Nari entered the room carrying a tablet. She was 15 now, and had become one of the leading human researchers in cognitive cooperation. Sorry to interrupt, but we have the results from the Level 2 trials. How many teams finished? Jihoon asked. All of them, Nari said with a smile. Every mixed team that tried it solved the puzzle within 6 hours. But here's the interesting part. Pure human teams took an average of 18 hours. Pure alien teams couldn't solve it at all. Because they needed each other, Velthar said as he floated into the room. The crystal alien had become a permanent fixture at the Institute. He spent most of his time studying how humans and aliens could learn from each other. Exactly, Nari confirmed. Level 2 is designed to be impossible unless you combine different ways of thinking. Human creativity opens up pathways. Alien logic navigates those pathways efficiently. Human emotion helps teams communicate better. Alien patience prevents mistakes. One of the visiting dignitaries, a tall being made of what looked like purple smoke, spoke up. This is very impressive. But is it practical? Can this cooperation work on real problems, not just clever puzzles? Come see, Dehan said. He had been waiting by the door, ready to give them a tour. As director of the institute, he spent most of his time showing skeptical aliens that human-alien cooperation was not just possible, but powerful. He led them through corridors that bent in strange ways, passing classrooms where human children and alien scholars worked together on projects. In one room, a 10-year-old named Bomi was helping an ancient alien mathematician understand quantum probability through a game she had invented. In another, human teenagers learned from alien engineers how to build structures that could survive inside stars. They arrived at a large laboratory. Inside, dozens of humans and aliens worked together around a central platform. On the platform floated something that looked like a miniature galaxy. This is the Fusion Core project, Dehan explained. For 2,000 years, the galaxy has tried to create stable microfusion cores. They would revolutionize energy production, making power almost unlimited. But the equations never worked. The cores always collapsed within seconds. We know this, the purple smoke being said. I lost colleagues to failed fusion experiments. Why are you showing us another failure? Because it's not failing anymore, said a young woman who approached them. Her name was Hejin, and she was 22 years old. Watch, she activated the miniature galaxy. It began spinning faster and faster. Energy readings on nearby screens climbed higher and higher. The alien visitors tensed, expecting an explosion. But the galaxy kept spinning. Stable, perfect, beautiful. It's been running for 3 months now, Hejin said proudly. We solved the stability problem by combining human intuitive mathematics with alien precision engineering. Neither approach worked alone. Together they work perfectly. The visitors stared in silence. A problem that had killed hundreds of researchers over 2 millennia was solved by a team of young humans and aliens working together. How many other projects like this exist? The jellyfish visitor asked quietly. Currently, we have 412 joint projects running, Dehan said. And that's just at this institute. There are 27 other research centers around the galaxy doing similar work. They continued the tour, seeing more impossible things made possible. A medical team had cured a disease that had plagued one species for millions of years by combining human pattern recognition with alien biological knowledge. An engineering team had designed ships that could survive inside black holes by mixing human creative problem-solving with alien material science. An agricultural team had created crops that could grow on previously uninhabitable worlds by blending human experimentation with alien genetic understanding. The tour ended back where it started, in Jihoon's demonstration room. But now the room was full of students. Human and alien children sat together in mixed groups, all working on level 2 puzzles. Watch them, Velthar said to the visitors. Watch how they communicate. The teams did not speak the same languages. They came from worlds with completely different environments and evolutionary paths, but they were solving problems together, learning to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. A small human girl named Sora worked with an insectoid alien 3 times her size. The alien provided logical analysis while Sora suggested creative solutions neither of them would have found alone. When they disagreed, they did not argue. They tested both ideas and kept the one that worked better. This is the future, Velthar said softly. Not humans replacing us. Not us teaching humans to think like us, but all of us learning from each other, becoming something greater than we were separately. Ambassador Suyan arrived with news. The Galactic Council has called another assembly. They want a full report on the Institute's progress. Are they shutting us down? Dehan asked nervously. There were still many species that feared human chaos and wanted to limit human influence. I don't think so, Suhyun said. But Quinn is demanding answers. He's convinced that humans are still dangerous. 3 days later, the Galactic Assembly met again. The chamber was even more crowded than before. It seemed like every species wanted to witness this discussion. Quinn stood at the center, his mantis body rigid with anger. For 1 year, we have allowed humans unlimited access to our technology and knowledge. And what has happened? Chaos. Everywhere humans go, they disrupt established systems. They question ancient traditions. They changed things that worked perfectly well. Things that worked perfectly well? Ambassador Suhyun asked calmly. Or things that worked adequately because no one dared to imagine better. The fusion core alone justifies human involvement, Velthar added. How many lives could we have saved if we had solved that problem 2,000 years ago? And how many lives might be lost because humans break something they don't understand? Quinn shot back. They are reckless. They are unpredictable. We are creative, said a voice from the entrance. Everyone turned. Jihoon walked into the chamber holding something in his hands. Nari walked beside him along with several other human and alien children. You're not supposed to be here, Quinn said. This is a closed assembly. Then close it after you see what we made, Jihoon said. He was not scared of the assembly or the hundreds of species watching him. He had a puzzle to share, and that was all that mattered to him. He placed the object on a floating platform in the center of the chamber. It looked like a sphere made of light and mathematics constantly shifting and changing. It was beautiful and impossible and perfect. This is level 3, Jihoon announced. We made it together. Humans and aliens. 20 different species working as one team. What does it do? Archmagister Thelquin asked.
The ancient stone being had been watching silently until now. It's a puzzle where everyone has to teach everyone else, Nari explained.
You can't solve it by yourself or even with your own species. You need to learn something from every other species on your team, and you need to teach them something only you know. Why would we want such a puzzle? Quinn demanded. Because that's the point, Jihoon said simply. The galaxy is full of species who never talk to each other, who think their way is the only way, who stay separate because they're scared of being different. But different is good. Different makes us all stronger. He activated the sphere. It expanded, filling the entire chamber with light. Every species present could see it, but each species saw it slightly differently. The sphere showed each being what they needed to learn and what they could teach. This puzzle can't be solved in a day or a week or even a year, Nari said. It's designed to keep growing as more species join in. The more different types of thinking you add,